On an average day in New York, the city produces a noise level of about 90 decibels, roughly the same as the sound of constant shouting by large crowds. Sam was a middle-aged woman who had been battling cancer for several years. Spending the rest of her life in an oncology ward until her final days felt like the worst challenge she could face during this difficult period. Her daily routine included sitting with other patients and watching them struggle with the disease. One afternoon, Sam's coach praised her for a poem she had shared during their therapy session, though he disapproved of the profanity in it. During this interaction, he invited Sam to join the rest of the group on a trip to the city for a puppet show. Sam, who was only looking for peace as her life neared its end, declined the offer. She said she might not even live through the next few hours, so going to the city seemed pointless to her. However, she eventually agreed to go on one condition: her coach, Ruben, had to promise to take her to her favorite pizza shop after the show. He agreed, and the two made their way to the city. For the first time in a long while, Samira felt happy as she experienced the lively, busy streets filled with cheerful people. However, a part of the puppet show saddened her, as it reminded her of the dreams and ambitions she had lost due to her illness. After the show, she stepped into a nearby shop but was startled to see police officers patrolling the area. Something serious seemed to have happened, drawing the attention of the whole city. When she returned outside, excited to finally get her favorite pizza, Ruben met her with troubling news. He told her that the radio stations were warning everyone to stay silent and indoors because something bad had started happening in the city. Samira, thinking this was one of Ruben's excuses to keep her from visiting her favorite pizza shop, Hardee's, became angry. She argued with him, accusing him of not being her friend but just her coach. Feeling guilty for her harsh words, she returned to the bus, waiting for their trip back to the ward. In a sudden turn of events, meteors filled the sky, one of them hitting their bus just inches from where Samira stood. Everything went dark. When she regained consciousness, she found the city in chaos. The streets were desolate, and the few people still there were running, searching for shelter from an unknown danger. What were those things falling from the sky? Why was everyone hiding? Samira wondered as fear gripped her. She decided she needed to find safety too. Suddenly, piercing screams filled the air. She saw people being snatched by terrifying creatures unlike anything seen before. These wild beasts destroyed everything in their path, including an ambulance, which exploded nearby. The blast knocked Samira unconscious once again. Samira found herself in an unfamiliar room, where a man urgently instructed her to stay quiet and make no noise. She struggled to comply as she desperately needed to cough. Moments later, the sound of helicopters overhead interrupted the silence. A voice from the loudspeakers warned everyone to stay silent and take cover, explaining that the creatures outside were aliens drawn to noise. Before long, chaos erupted. The aliens attacked the helicopters, leading to loud explosions and terrified screams from outside. Suddenly, Samira's pet cat, frightened by the commotion, dashed into another room, knocking over objects and creating noise. The disturbance attracted an alien, which broke into the building and nearly attacked her. However, she was saved in the nick of time when another loud noise outside diverted the alien's attention, causing it to leave. For now, they were safe. Samira brushed off ash from the explosion and removed the pain patch from her arm. It was the only one she had left, and she would need more soon to manage the muscle pain caused by her cancer. Meanwhile, announcements instructed the survivors to avoid bridges and wait for help to arrive. A series of loud explosions forced everyone outside, where they saw police officers burning down all the bridges. One man, overwhelmed with despair, yelled that the government had abandoned them to die. Furious, he threatened to shout and draw the aliens, believing there was no point in living if no help was coming. Before he could act, Henri, another survivor, strangled him to prevent further danger, insisting that help would eventually arrive. Back inside, Samira apologized to Ruben for her earlier outburst. They talked about plans to escape from the creatures and were beginning to feel hopeful. Suddenly, the power went out, and they quickly started a generator. Ruben braved the outdoors to turn it off and restore the silence. However, on his way back, his shirt caught on some hooks and ripped, creating noise that attracted an alien. The creature attacked him viciously, tearing him apart. Now more devastated than ever, Samira vowed to escape the place and make a change in her fate. At the first light of dawn, Samira stepped out of her hideout and headed to a nearby grocery store to find food for her pet cat. Behind a large fountain, she noticed a young boy and his sister. Feeling compassionate, she shared a small treat with them. The fountain acted as a sound barrier, muffling any noise from reaching outside. Farther ahead, helicopters hovered in the distance, announcing over loudspeakers that survivors should head to the boats on the water for safety. The aliens, fortunately, could not swim. Chaos erupted as a stampede of aliens rushed toward the helicopters. Seeing the danger, Samira stepped out with the children, instructing them to follow her quietly. Soon, other survivors emerged from their hiding places, all moving toward the nearest evacuation center. However, Samira chose not to follow the crowd. She turned and walked back toward the town instead. With her life nearing its end due to her illness, she had no desire to fight for survival. She only wanted to live out her final days in solitude, without anyone pitying her. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps from the fleeing crowd drew the aliens. They descended swiftly, flipping vehicles and tearing people apart in a brutal frenzy. Samira sought shelter under a vehicle as the chaos intensified. A man grabbed her foot, begging her to save him, but before she could respond, an alien attacked, dragging him away. Terrified, she fled to an abandoned alley and hid, waiting for the mayhem to end. Meanwhile, her pet cat wandered through the town and encountered a young student lawyer named Eric, who had hidden beneath the water to avoid the aliens. The cat led him to Samira, who was startled to see him. Eric, too scared to go alone, decided to follow her, despite her obvious irritation. Later, as rain began to fall, they arrived at an abandoned shelter. Inside, Eric introduced himself, revealing his name to the curious but wary Samira. Sam advised Eric to head to the South Street Rescue Center, where boats were waiting to evacuate survivors. However, Eric hesitated, expressing his fear of the aliens and his reluctance to go alone. He confessed that he preferred to stay with Sam, as she was the only person he had seen in the deserted town. Rain offered a small advantage to the humans, as the downpour muffled noises, making it harder for the aliens to hear. Taking advantage of this, Sam and Eric kicked open the door to an abandoned building, timing their movement with a loud clap of thunder. Inside, Eric admitted he wasn't familiar with the area, explaining that he was from England and had come to the US to pursue a law degree. Recognizing Sam as a poet, he shared how impressed he was by one of her poems he had read. Amid the storm, Sam and Eric screamed in frustration. They couldn't accept that all their years of effort and ambition had been reduced to mere survival. The next morning, Sam packed her belongings, determined to leave the building and Eric behind. She longed for solitude. However, as she sat in a library moments later, Eric appeared again. He had been following her closely. Though irritated, Sam didn't lash out and merely shook her head in disbelief. Eric handed her a book she had left behind, insisting he only wanted to return it. Sam placed the book in her bag, but as she stood, a trolley of books fell over with a loud crash, waking nearby aliens. They had no choice but to flee the library. While escaping into another building, a suitcase jammed the door. Eric summoned all his strength to force the door open, but the noise attracted the creatures, which gave chase. Down the street, Eric smashed a car window, setting off the alarm to distract the aliens. Taking advantage of the commotion, they found refuge in a flooded subway. As they waded through the water, the movement disturbed a sleeping alien. With no other option, they dived into the water and swam. The alien, lured by the noise, followed them in and drowned almost instantly. They emerged on the other side, finding themselves in an old church. Eric, noticing Sam's discomfort, insisted on looking for medication to ease her pain. While searching, he was startled by a figure in the shadows. To his relief, it was Sam's cat, which affectionately rubbed against him. Grateful for the brief comfort, Eric returned to Sam with renewed determination to help her through the ordeal. As Eric wandered freely, he stumbled upon a strange, unidentified object. Curiosity took over, and he bent down to examine it. Just then, one of the aliens approached, marching toward an object that resembled an egg. The creature opened the egg-like object with its hands and began emitting guttural sounds, seemingly calling for others to join. Alarmed, Eric decided to flee, but his hand accidentally scratched a metal pipe. The sound drew the attention of an alien, which lunged at him and came within inches of tearing him apart. Thankfully, the distraction caused by the other alien saved him, allowing him to escape unscathed. When Eric returned to Sam with the medical supplies, her face lit up with relief and gratitude. At last, her pain would subside, even if just for a while. Over the next few days, Sam found small moments of joy exploring life outside the city. Though she missed how life used to be, she allowed herself to savor fleeting memories of normalcy. One day, Eric surprised Sam with a box of pizza. On the lid, he wrote Parties, the name of her favorite pizza restaurant. The gesture warmed her heart, reminding her of the days when she used to visit parties with her father. After finishing their pizza, her father would play the piano in the restaurant, filling the air with music and laughter. After they shared the pizza, Eric put on an impromptu show, mimicking the carefree moments Sam once shared with her father. As they climbed up to a balcony, they suddenly heard the blaring alarm of military boats calling survivors to the seaport. Eric urged Sam to join him, but she refused. Knowing her days were numbered, Sam decided she wanted to spend her final moments alone in the city. She handed Eric her coat and bid him farewell, instructing him to walk quietly to the seaport. The noise of the ship's horn awakened the dormant creatures, sending them into the streets. As Sam and Eric moved cautiously through the city, their footsteps drew the creatures' attention. To create a distraction, Sam smashed a car window with a wrench she found, drawing the aliens toward the sound and clearing an escape route for Eric. But as he ran, a piece of metal scrap fell to the ground, attracting the creatures to his side. Eric sprinted as fast as he could, clutching the cat tightly while the aliens pursued him. In a desperate move, he leapt into the water, leaving the creatures helpless at the edge. From a distance, Sam watched with a bittersweet smile, glad that her friend and her beloved cat were safe. Eric turned back one last time, showing his gratitude to Sam before swimming toward the ship. The remaining survivors helped him aboard, and Henri reassured him that he was safe now and had nothing to fear. Meanwhile, Sam spent her final days wrapped in a blanket, revisiting old memories of her youth. Eric, now aboard the ship, cuddled the cat when he found a wet note in his pocket. It was from Sam, reminding him to take care of the cat and warning him never to rub its belly because it didn't like it. The next morning, Sam ventured out alone. Her body ached, her muscles straining with each step, but she felt a strange peace. Attaching headphones to her radio, she listened to one of her favorite songs. Feeling free, she unplugged the headphones, letting the music play loudly through the radio. The sound echoed through the streets, drawing the attention of a creature lurking nearby. It crept up behind her as the music played on. "Hello, I've got a little challenge that only you can help me with. Please click on the subscription button and turn on the notification settings for more movies like this. Thank you."